Welcome everybody to our first edition of Finding Your True North, where living a life more authentically is our mission. I'm Gray.
And I'm Carrie, and we're founders of the True North Academy, and you can find us at thetruenorthacademy.com. Our purpose with this vlog series is to explore everyday topics in a new way. Gray, why don't you introduce today's topic?
Topic of the day is a big one. Rest. There's so much conversation about rest, how much it's been more a part of our lives with this recent pandemic and having more time on our hands. Of course, so much has been studied on it. But it remains a bit of a curiosity insofar as what makes it efficient. What is quality rest? Where does it come from? Where does it source? You know, it's interesting to me that studies have shown for true rest to occur that you have to be in this deep cycle sleep, REM sleep, as they say. Yet, as much as the Western culture encourages 8 hours a night as being where it's at, studies have shown that you can get an hour and a half of REM from 8 hours, just like you get an hour and a half from 4 hours, depending upon the person or the application. And it's curious because obviously there's something more to it. There's more to it than just the science or just the cycle that is rest. So I'd like to explore that a little bit further. So the question is, a number of questions. The first that comes to mind is what is it? What constitutes feeling rested? What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought on this topic because in my world right now, there's a lot of my routine that still happens. I am not as housebound as some others because I have animals to care for. And I'm surprised that I still feel so rested to the point of agreeing with not knowing what day it is, and in the fact, I want to say I kind of know that I feel more rested because I'm accomplishing so much and sleeping little and not feeling anxious or uptight about anything really that goes on in my day. So it feels good. Feels good.
That's cool. I felt differently when everything changed and I had so much more time on my hands. I almost felt like I had to make up for lost time. I didn't feel like I was that stressed or pressed when everything was on a wheel and moving well. And boy, but when it stopped, I slept and I slept and I slept, and I've never had a hard time feeling fulfilled when I got up in the morning. Even if my nights were a little shorter and maybe I didn't quite have the same edge, I still felt very rested. But on the backside of a 10-hour slumber, I was still feeling kind of groggy when this was first going on. We had all this additional time, and that was my cycle for a good week and a half until it balanced back out.
Yeah.
And of course, it made me wonder if there wasn't more of a deep-seated reason for why I needed so much more that maybe I wasn't paying attention to before, and then had time to do so, although didn't actually focus on what that is. I can tell you this: I was one to undervalue rest to some degree. Of course, in my mind, I believe that rest it has to have a place.
Sure.
And everybody, of course, respects that on some level, because at the end of a long day, you're physically tired. But it was not the equivalent of productivity. It was not the equivalent of what was a measured routine, what I thought was, the best allocation of time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, it wasn't something that I actually scheduled or held any kind of reverence for. It was just, okay, when I can't go anymore, I'm going to stop. And
So, oh, sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
It prompted a question I have. If you're making an assumption that there's two, or if we can all make the assumption that there are two pieces needed, um, one being surrender and one being acceptance, as two important aspects of being able to really participate in life and changes in our lives. Could you pick one of those that you were maybe not paying attention to, not surrendering to rest, or not accepting a need for rest?
Yeah, I guess it would have to be the latter. I think, when it came time to surrender, I think that was a moving target, is to say, well, what would urge me to surrender? And for me, in my world, it was that physical wall, and as much as in the back of my mind, I felt, well, I've always believed that routine is very important, and of course, allocating a certain amount of time for rest is essential, right? It's a backbone of functioning. But my motivation for what I wanted to get done, or the lifestyle I wanted to have and appreciate, as it may be, had me prioritizing rest less. And I think in terms of acceptance, I wasn't accepting of that. I was saying to myself, it was something I would do when I had enough other stuff done. And maybe one day to the next, I'd make a reflection that was to say, well, I didn't get enough sleep last night. I should get more sleep tonight. And maybe I was lucky enough to remember that when the following night came around. And of course, ultimately, it's a very convincing argument, but I guarantee you there was not an accepted place of importance for it in my lineup, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, maybe there's a need to prepare for it. Of course, if there is something more to it than just penciling it in, are there things that we can do specifically in our day, or in what way would we feel like we are prepared to rest?
That's a big topic. In February, which is National Sleep Month, I did quite a bit of research and jumped in with offering sleep routine tips, on a daily basis. And yeah, there's a lot, and some people need one or two things. Some people really need to go through 4, 5, 6 things at the end of their day, depending on their circumstances, their current state of mind, the level of tightness in the body, and what they need in order to feel rested and fall asleep.
Yeah, maybe it is just more of an awareness that we're talking about. It's to say, as far as preparation for rest, um, take notice of what it means to be inviting of rest. And when can you fall right to sleep? When do you lay there and think and feel, even though you're physically tired, you're just not getting sleep, or feel like you want to welcome sleep? There is a state of mind. There is a certain energy, or call it inertia, from the day that you are always feeling, and maybe you're not aware of it, but it certainly is. It's there. It's either discouraging of a restful state, or it's encouraging of a restful state. Right?
That's right.
I've started this little exercise that it works for me. Not that I've ever had a real problem sleeping, but then again, I've always pushed the limits of how much rest I need, just the same. So when I'm tired, I'm tired. But the exercise is more metaphysical. Okay, it's more trying to arrange my day as it would feel as if it's a day in the life of. So when I get up in the morning, it's like a birth. And when I go to bed at night, it's like a death. And that's not to sound as morbid as it may come across. But what it is it's kind of a need to be okay with the events of the day.
Mm.
It's an acceptance of what was this day as all there needed to be. If I can come to terms with what today was, if I can make peace with that, if that's all I do in this life, it's just what I did today,
Right.
am I okay with that? And of course, ultimately, if you're not okay with that, it's going to linger. You're going to take that into the next day. It's going to impair your ability to rest truly, in a fulfilling way.
Right.
But it's also going to be a deficit you start with the following day, because you feel now a need to make up for the shortcomings of the day before.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
If you calm your mind by saying, I did all I could do today to prepare for whatever my job is tomorrow, how do you let that be the end of it and not have the mind jumping into tomorrow?
It's a good question. Well, again, it is, metaphorically speaking, a death. It's to say you don't have an option for tomorrow. Now, it is requiring you to be a little more metaphysical, more spiritual, a little more expanding with your mind, of course, to believe that today is all you have. I think we all go to bed and trust that tomorrow is another day. But the metaphor holds value when you're able to complete the exercise and find peace with the the happenings of the day, to the extent that you don't need to improve on it. Look, tomorrow is a new day, and it therefore is a new opportunity to apply yourself. It doesn't have to be a continuation of the day before. And of course, plenty of people are going to say, well, it's life, dude. I mean, it is a continuation. I mean, if I don't get done my list today, I'm going to start with it tomorrow. I understand that. But there is a scenario where you don't have that possibility. You go to sleep and you don't wake up. Okay. Your whatever stops and something else needs to begin. That this is the cycle that is your day, whether you like it or not. Of course, I think in our egoically driven minds, we're all immortal. We're going to live forever, and what we start today, we'll finish, and and nothing's going to separate us from that finish line. But reality is, there's no certainty. We don't know how much time we're going to have, and if certainly if there is anything lingering from one day's development to the next, it is creating that feeling of being unsettled. It just, how can you possibly feel fit to rest if you're not appreciating the time and the opportunity to rest? And I don't know about you, but I can't appreciate time to rest if I'm not appreciating time I had to perform or to produce, as it might be. It one negates the other, right?
Very interesting.
So yeah, so in my opinion, I do believe that one's ability to accept, even if you're not completely appreciating It's not about settling for less. It's one's ability to accept what offering was the day, being able to understand it as a necessary step in your life, your evolution, whatever it might be, becomes a valuable tool for soliciting rest and therefore recovering fully before you start again.
Right.
New day, new way, right?
So, in preparing for bedtime, some of the basics that most of us know and have heard again and again, um, no screen time, limit the screen time, and that earlier in your night. A lot of people are going to blue light blocker glasses in order to continue with their screen time and not have the ill effects of the blue light, ill effects on our melatonin and our sleep cycles. Um, some other helpful hints, essential oils, taking a bath or shower, just again, that's similar to what you're saying. That particular piece could be part of a death process of the day, wash the dirt away, cleanse, and be
Yeah,
done, be ready for rest.
yeah,
Um, Reading is always great, especially, something fictional, or poetry, something, if you can't get through too many pages at the end of a day without, your eyes closing on you, it'd be nice to at least just take in a little something, maybe to, even if it's to prompt some lovely dreams for you overnight.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, a changing of the thoughts, the switching of gears is the
right.
wind down, if you will. I mean, that can be facilitated in those ways, and of course, they're becoming more popular, which is good. But it really comes down to being able to separate your thought pattern that has been your day and your contributions in just that way, just that one way, and realize that at some point that has to stop and recovery has to happen. And so I think whether it's dimming the lights a couple hours from bedtime, or like you had said about just don't give yourself such a productive task right before you go to bed. I mean, look, you're teaching yourself with most of your day already that when you have a task, it's requiring all your focus, all your energy, and you want to try to, put everything you have into it to get it done. Why would that be a call to action right before you try to lay down, like right before you relax? I get it. It's on the to-do list. You don't want the day to end until it's done. But there is absolutely, as we've observed, I know we've all observed, there is a process to the wind down. So if you're one of those, overachievers, can't quit on the day, then why not uh, use any and all props that you can get a hold of? Why not try to create a different space? As you said, when you read, especially if it's fiction material or poetry or something that really doesn't have a place in your day otherwise, this requires you to be a different version of yourself. This requires a little more fantasy, a little more imagination. This is what dreams are made of, right? I mean, we're not dreamers when we're producing. I mean, we'd like to think so, that we're, with these always stimulated creative minds. But the reality is, we're on a wheel. We have this cause and effect relationship with, what it takes to get stuff done. So to remove ourselves from that inertia, that force that's pushing us from behind, and start to switch to more of that left brain, more creative, more conceptual. A position of wonder, right? It's like
Yeah.
maybe my life is bigger or more diversified than I think that I'm giving myself credit for. Books are wonderful for that kind of adventure because it does open up a new world immediately as soon as you read the first line. And it's very difficult to get lost in that world if you're still lost in your day.
Yeah, yeah. I have one last curiosity before we start to wrap it up. And because of the physical isolation we're all going through right now, uh, you are experiencing that on a different level than I am, as I mentioned earlier, because of having to go feed the horses early every morning. I've stayed on a pretty consistent schedule of going to bed and waking up. How about you? Have your circadian rhythms gotten all messed up? Are you turning day into night and night into day, just getting lost in your tasks and your reading or
Well,
writing?
although it's easier to do
Yeah,
because
it's easier.
there is time to do it, and of course to test the limits of whatever you're doing and wherever it's going to take you, and that's kind of fun. Having said that, I do appreciate the value of a rhythm. I always have. Where I seem to be maybe less productive is with my rhythm migrating to where it's a little later at night and a little later getting up in the morning. And of course, there's no rule as to what's better or worse, and that's to be applicable to any one schedule individually. But for me, I believe that respect that you would give a bedtime, preparing for a bedtime at the same time each day, and trying to get up at a certain time, even if it's some days harder than others, is what puts you into that maximum efficiency mode, right? Like it's like you might not be ready when the alarm goes off if it takes so long to get you up, but once you're up, you are. You're not needing to go back to bed more times than not. So the real hurdle is not just prioritizing the rest cycle, but prioritizing the waking cycle.
Yeah.
And rhythm is critical when it comes to those times overlapping. And I'm amazed when my schedule does migrate. Let's say I'm pushing the bedtime back a little bit, how the wake up time seems to want to do the same. I mean, for me personally, I there is a cycle there. There's no doubt a cycle there. And what's also interesting is different times of the year, how that rhythm can change. I'm sure we all can relate to summertime, longer days, how is it, even though you're working, I mean, it seems like you're more physical in the summertime, you have more energy in general to go and do. It seems like you need a little less rest. It's almost like the sun, at least in our time zone, it gives you that added bump where it's easier to get up in the morning, it's easier to shut down when it's dark, even though it's dark later. It's the day's long enough, and it's easily recognized as the end when it arrives because of that circadian rhythm being so much closer to the sun cycle, what is the length of a day. So I know that factors into it for sure. But
We have solar batteries in us, I'm convinced.
yeah, yeah, no
We
doubt.
all feel much more energetic in the summertime than we do in the wintertime.
Yeah, it's true, and I think it's different for everybody, and I'm definitely resisting the urge to try to quantify what rest, what good sleep looks like, or how it would evolve to be one day to the next. I think what's important, if there's an important takeaway, is understanding not just your need for sleep, the priority that it has to be for you to truly feel your best, but also having ways to measure it, like having checkpoints where you can, as you go through your day, you can realize where this potential inefficiency is coming from. If you don't quite feel like yourself, how many people stop and think about its origin? That usually it's a fixation on whatever the stimulus is at that moment to determine if, that that's the cause of it. But the reality is, they're dominoes that fall, and many times the first domino is your rest, is your recovery. Is that cycle that's so necessary where you're replenishing yourself to be able to apply all of yourself to the next day or task at hand.
That's right. That's right.
And the other thing is not to underestimate the value of just stopping during your waking time long enough to notice and appreciate a slower rhythm. So everybody's busy, get it. we don't have much time. But there are points in the day when you truly feel like you're just overwhelmed. Like it just, whatever rhythm you've taken on doesn't work. I mean, things are happening with your body, things are happening with, like, let's say, the degree in which you can produce what you want to produce, your focus, let's say, one thing to the next, it just isn't there. And you know you're not yourself.
Yeah.
It's then not your next sleep cycle, but then when you can slow down, stop, look at a scene that is out your window, out your car window. Uh, Go outside if you're inside. Take in nature. Have some form of connection, even if it's 3 or 4 minutes, where you study one thing, one living thing, one creature, one plant, whatever it is, and realize just how far your cadence has evolved from that position of just being the observer and totally aware of the little things, the detail that's in your environment.
You bring up a good point. We've talked a lot about rest and how it's achieved through sleep and how to best get sleep that's appropriate. But rest is more than sleep. Rest is part of your daily rhythm and your daily pace. And that's what I was saying earlier, that even though I'm, going to the barn and doing all these things, I do feel more rested because my attention isn't in 10 different places. It's only on the barn because I can only go 2 places, the barn and home.
Yeah.
And everything needs rest. The animals rest, obviously the people rest, but nature rests. The trees have their cycles of when they are feeding and vibrant and when they're more dormant. The pastures, when it comes to the horses, we rest the fields. Farmers rest their fields between crops. Sometimes let them go fallow for a whole, planting cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So rest it's everything from a deep breath to a deep sleep.
Well said. It is, and it can really be that small, and that's something to explore. If there's an invitation for exploration in this chat, it's just that. It's how many ways you can find rest within your own resources, within your own day in the life of. There, I guarantee you that there are so many more options for rest and recovery than what we're taking, because it really has been only palleted in a sleep format, right? It's to get to the end of the day and then you can rest. But look, it doesn't take much observation to realize, as you said, that that's not the way life works. And if we pay attention to the subtleties, it really is about that cycle that can be as short or as long as feels naturally good for you.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say before introducing the next topic? The topic for the next.
The topic for the next episode. Yes, the next episode. The next episode, I think we should explore the idea of creativity. It's a big topic, but again, I think reduced down into its subtle forms, I think it'd be quite stimulating. So episode 2 will be about curiosity.
Creativity.
Or creativity, excuse me. Creativity.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Did I say it right the first time? I introduced the creativity? Yes. Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, creativity is definitely what I have in mind.
Yes. Yeah.
So that'll be episode 2.
Terrific. I'm excited.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody that tuned in. This is really exciting for us, giving us a chance to express ourselves and what we do more intimately with you. So it'll be part of a vlog series that will be libraried on our website, thetruenorthacademy.com. Thank you again, and we will see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great day.